Welcome to Think Tank. I'm Steve Adubato. We're in fact coming to you from the Agnes Varus NJTV studios. We're pleased to welcome. He's with us once again. Ralph Izzo, Chairman, President, CEO, PSEG. Good to see you, Ralph.
Good to see you, Steve.
Let's get right into this. Define where we are with energy efficiency, and while you're doing it, please define energy efficiency.
Yeah, so energy efficiency is not rocket science. It just means simple things like changing light bulbs from incandescent, the bulb that we're accustomed to LED, which uses a lot less energy but keeps visibility great. Changing thermostats so that it's programmed to go to a different set point at night versus the day, so that we use enough electricity and enough gas that we're comfortable and we can live our life but not wasting it.
Okay, so let's stay on this. By the way, let's put up information, so the website, so people can find out more information. So help us understand this. What are we doing? And you describe what could be done.
Right.
Where are we doing well? Where are we not doing well? And then ultimately, what impact is it having?
Yeah, where we're doing well is that we're recognizing the damage that carbon is doing to the global climate.
Is that the carbon footprint?
That's exactly right. So
is it still too big?
It is far too big,
Okay.
and there's increased scientific evidence that we need to cut back on that. So we're doing a good job of investing in clean technologies like preserving existing nuclear, investing in new solar, investing in new offshore wind. But in particular, when you look at the cost associated with those new technologies like solar and wind, you can achieve the same carbon reductions for far less expense by investing in energy efficiency. That's not to say we shouldn't do the solar and wind. It just means that we haven't done enough of the energy efficiency.
Ralph, you know, when you mention the nuclear piece, you know there are a lot of folks thinking about this. I'm thinking about it as well. Hey, wait a minute. Nukes? I thought it was no nukes. I thought nuclear energy is bad. I mean, deal with that.
Yeah, no, we should. I mean, so nuclear energy has one major challenge that we have not resolved, which is the disposal of the fuel after it's used. And that's really more of a political problem than it is a scientific or engineering problem.
That's not an environmental problem?
Well, if not handled properly, it would be an environmental problem. But there isn't one energy technology, not solar, not wind, not nuclear, that doesn't have some environmental challenge that requires proper handling.
Even though it's like wind, people say, oh, it's clean. There's no issue with it environmentally.
No, but if you put it in the wrong place, then it's not efficient, and it uses a lot of land, and it gets in the way of bird travel. But if you put it in the right place, then it's a wonderful resource. And that's true of so many energy technologies. So we have to grapple with the disposal of high-level waste for nuclear. But in all those cases, what we're talking about is creating a supply choice. Our emphasis should be on not needing to create a supply choice. That's where energy efficiency comes in.
How do we get there?
Well, by having universal access to energy efficiency, by mandating that utilities be as responsible for putting in those programmable thermostats, those efficient heating systems, as we are responsible for building the wires and the pipes to deliver the supply.
Should government drive that?
Yes, absolutely.
By public policy, by mandate, by what?
So to the credit of the legislature and Governor Murphy, last year they signed a law that said we need to have in New Jersey a mandate on utilities to reduce energy consumption by a certain percentage per year, and it varies depending upon the type of energy. Well, we have to implement that law, and we haven't been as fast to implement it as we have been to pass it. So we've proposed a program to the Board of Public Utilities at PSEG.
By the way, let's disclose PSEG, big supporter of public broadcasting.
And we're happy to be so. That we want to invest $3.6 billion over the next 6 years to bring universal access to energy efficiency to our customers. And that will lower bills. Right? So if I use less energy, I pay less on my bill. It's true.
But how does that help? Devil's advocate. How does it help your bottom line?
Oh, it's simple. There's a mechanism that's been used by 30 states called decoupling.
Say it again?
Yeah, I'd say
decoupling.
Decoupling.
See, I wish you hadn't said it. Okay, decoupling. Go ahead, break it down.
But basically it allows us to lower the customer bill by a certain amount, but lower our costs to serve them by even more. So if I'm spending less to serve you, I can charge you less. And that's the premise behind decoupling. I spend less, I charge you less.
Help us understand this, because Think Tank tries to take a, dare I use the word, more global look at the State of Affairs, our sister program. It's purely on state public policy. Nationalize this, because you've talked to your colleagues all around the country. You're talking about what New Jersey's doing. But we're part of regional cooperative relationships. Our pollution problems go over to Pennsylvania, New York. Theirs come to us, Delaware, et cetera, et cetera. How is the national energy policy? How would you describe the national energy policy under the Trump administration first?
Yes, sadly, our national energy policy is sorely lacking. The benefit of energy efficiency is twofold. One is it lowers the customer bill. Every customer likes that. The second benefit is what we talked about before. It reduces carbon. The smartest way to reduce carbon is to set a single price for carbon. And there are various mechanisms for doing that. One is called cap and trade. It was very successfully deployed in acid rain. Another is a carbon tax. And then let the market decide what the best technology is to reduce carbon such that you can do it at below that price point. And that gets rid of all of these ridiculous subsidies that are so inconsistent and all too often don't achieve their desired endpoint. If you look at how we subsidize solar and how we subsidize wind and how we subsidize offshore wind and how we subsidize energy efficiency, there are vastly different ways that we do that.
Ralph, by the way, speaking of Ralph Izzo, the chairman, president, and CEO, PSEG, there are some in Washington who still debate what's going on with our climate. And, listen, that's fake news. Listen, what's the real science on this? A lot of good scientists, smart scientists, disagree on this. You say?
I say that the preponderance, the vast majority, the overwhelming majority of scientists have modeled climate change, and it's clear that human behavior is causing the climate and this climate to change. It is real.
And to what degree do you sense, Ralph, that there's a national effort, both parties, everyone who cares about our country, that we're going to deal with this climate change issue? We're going to deal with it head on.
I don't sense that that's going to happen in the near term, sadly. It's being left to the states to do that. Yet a recent
state by state,
which is crazy, right? Because it's global climate change.
That's why I brought it up. I don't see it. You can do a certain amount in a state, but you can't.
And it's very inefficient because, candidly, some renewable sources make more sense to develop them in one state versus another, right? I mean, there's a little bit more wind in the Adirondacks and the Appalachians than there are in New Jersey. There's a little bit more sun in Arizona than there is in New Jersey. So if you had a national system, and clearly what you really need is an international system, you'd have a far more efficient way of dealing with climate change.
Are you implying politics get in the way? I won't go there. Coal, getting out of the business of coal, what does that mean?
We are. Coal is the most carbon-intensive form of electricity production. Until you come up with an economic way to capture and store the carbon emissions from burning coal, we think it's a big problem for the environment.
Will jobs get lost in that process?
So they are getting lost in that process, but we have been able to redeploy that talent into other parts of our company.
So hold on, you're not concerned about those folks finding employment?
because as coal had become more and more problematic from an environmental point of view, those plants were running less and less often, and the staffing levels at them had gone down further and further. So we're able to use that talent in other places.
Ralph Izzo, Chairman, President, CEO, PSEG, I want to thank you for joining us. You covered a lot of important ground because this affects everyone watching, regardless of where you're watching. Thank you, Ralph. Stay right there. I'm Steve Adubato. I'll be right back right after this.
Think Tank with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 30 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Think Tank with Steve Adubato has been provided by Atlantic Health System, NJIT, TD Bank, United Airlines, Choose New Jersey, Community Food Bank of New Jersey, and by the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Promotional support provided by NorthJersey.com and Local IQ, and by Insider NJ. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.